This is a Fox News alert. I'm Chris Wallace in for Brett Baer. There are new signs tonight of just how serious the investigation into Russian interference in last fall's election is becoming. The Wall Street Journal reports Special Counsel Robert Mueller has impaneled a grand jury. Chief White House correspondent John Roberts starts us off tonight. Good evening, John.
Chris, good evening to you. We have talked to people here at the White House. They say that they have not been informed that the Special Counsel Robert Mueller has impaneled a grand jury, nor is it likely that they would be informed. But we are hearing from people here at the White House about it. First of all, from Ty Cobb, who is the newly appointed member of the White House counsel's team, who is dealing strictly with the Russia investigation. He told us a short while ago, quote, "Grand jury matters are typically kept secret. The White House favors anything that accelerates the conclusion of his work," and that would be Robert Mueller, fairly. The White House is committed to fully cooperating with Mr. Mueller. And from John Dowd, who is the leader of the president's outside counsel team, quote, "We have no reason to believe President Trump is under investigation." I'm being told by the president's legal team that all of this is fairly routine, that they would expect that Robert Mueller would impanel a grand jury. Clearly, he has a lot of evidence that he needs to go through. He has a lot of testimony that he has to hear as well. And really, his investigation is just getting underway. So, Chris, for him to impanel a grand jury in an investigation as complicated as this one is likely to be, they're not surprised. Though anytime there's news like this, politically, it's not particularly good for the president or the people who are close to the president who are involved in this investigation. Chris?
Well, and to add to the sense that this is a serious investigation, there's another report tonight, John, that the grand jury we're talking about here, the Mueller grand jury, has subpoenaed information, records about that June 2016 meeting that involved Donald Jr. and the Russian lawyer.
Yeah, it involved Donald Trump Jr. and a number of other players as well. Jared Kushner was there. Paul Manafort, who was then the campaign manager, was there for a short time as well. And then there were a number of players from outside, including that Russian attorney, Natalia Veselnitskaya. We've checked with a few people who were involved in that meeting. So far, no indication that any of them have received subpoenas to appear before a grand jury just yet. But a couple of those people, Paul Manafort and Jared Kushner, have already been cooperating with investigating committees on Capitol Hill. Jared Kushner, a little more than a week ago, appeared before the Senate Judiciary Committee, Senate Intelligence Committee staff, gave them an interview, gave them a number of documents, and Paul Manafort has been giving documents to the Senate Judiciary Committee as well, and it's expected that both he and Donald Trump Jr. will appear in some form before that committee, likely in September. So what I'm getting from the players who were involved in that meeting is there's not much more to tell than has already been told, or more information to give than has already been given. So they're feeling pretty confident that this grand jury proceeding really isn't going to add up to much of a hill of beans for them. Chris?
There's another aspect to this. A lot of people have forgotten that Robert Mueller had already impaneled a grand jury in Alexandria, Virginia, to investigate former National Security Advisor General Michael Flynn, his potential legal problems. What do they make of the fact that the White House, that he already had a grand jury for Flynn, and now he has impaneled a new grand jury separately here in D.C.?
It's likely for a couple of reasons, Chris. First of all, as you mentioned, that grand jury is in Alexandria, Virginia. The special counsel's office is here in Washington, D.C. Anytime they wanted to present information or testimony before that grand jury, they had to travel through Washington traffic, and we all know how that can be. So it's likely that this new grand jury has been impaneled in the District of Columbia. It's also probably an indication that this investigation is going to go on for a long time. If you put a whole new set of fresh people in there, it means that you've got a lot of evidence to present, you've got a lot of testimony that you want people to hear, and so you want a set of fresh eyes, a set of fresh ears, and fresh people who aren't worn out from already being impaneled to look into all of that. And of course, all of this, Chris, occurs on a day when President Trump was dealing with another embarrassing leak of classified information.
Aides said President Trump was angered over yet another leak of classified information after the Washington Post published full transcripts of his January phone calls with Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto and Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull. In the Mexico call, President Trump acknowledged he had boxed himself in politically by insisting Mexico would pay for his vaunted border wall. Quote, "We are both in a little bit of a political bind because I have to have Mexico pay for the wall. I have to. We should both say we will work it out, as opposed to you saying we will not pay and me saying we will not pay." The president also suggests that if Peña Nieto keeps up the drumbeat of not paying for the wall, it will affect U.S.-Mexico relations. The president: if you are going to say that Mexico is not going to pay for the wall, then I do not want to meet with you guys anymore, because I cannot live with that. And he appeared to indicate the politics surrounding a wall are more important than the wall itself. The president: believe it or not, this is the least important thing that we are talking about, but politically, this might be the most important talk about. At one point, President Trump talks about the drug problem coming from Mexico, telling Peña Nieto, quote, "I won New Hampshire because New Hampshire is a drug-infested den." That brought a swift response from New Hampshire's Republican Governor Chris Sununu. In a statement, he slammed the president, saying, "The president is wrong. It's disappointing his mischaracterization of this epidemic ignores the great things this state has to offer." In a series of tweets, Democratic Senator Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire called the president's language, quote, "disgusting." In his call with Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, President Trump is concerned about the political fallout of honoring an Obama-era deal to take 1,250 refugees into the United States. The president: "I will be seen as a weak and ineffective leader in my first week by these people. This is a killer." Turnbull: "You can certainly say that it was not a deal that you would have done, but you are going to stick with it." The president responds: "I have had it. I have been making these calls all day, and this is the most unpleasant call all day. Putin was a pleasant call. This is ridiculous." Then a short time later, ends the call. The transcripts verify reports from February about the calls that the president had insisted were, quote, "fake news." But it was another serious leak of classified information the president's Republican colleagues lashed out at.
I have encouraged the president, and now I encourage that through General Kelly, to fire every single person that's had anything whatsoever to do with backbiting, undermining other people for their own benefit, or leaking, and not to be cautious about it. If there's even a thought that somebody was involved, get rid of them.
For the White House, the leak reinforced the importance of an investigation Attorney General Jeff Sessions will announce in a press conference at the Department of Justice tomorrow. The Attorney General's job is safe. Fox News has learned that the new Chief of Staff, John Kelly, told Sessions that while the president is angry that he recused himself in the Russia investigation, he neither plans to fire Sessions or ask him to resign.
President Trump is holding a big campaign rally in Huntington, West Virginia tonight. He may have more to say about all of this at that rally. He has teased us that he has a big announcement. We know that the Democratic governor of West Virginia, Jim Justice, will announce tonight that he is switching parties to become a Republican. And, Chris, there may be something beyond that from the president. We'll wait and see. Chris?
And we'll have more on all of this with the panel, and as well, we'll be going to West Virginia later to discuss and preview the president's speech at the top of the hour. John Roberts reporting from a very busy White House tonight. John, thank you.
Thanks.